Alright guys, Squirrely News is coming back for week 10. Took a little bit of absence, called a bye week if you want, while I was moving for week 9. But in week 10, I'm just going to dive right into it, guys. Try to get this out there to help you digest and pick what you want for the week. I'm going to start out with kickers. And to go with kickers this week, I'm going to be going with Matt Bryant because I'm trying to get some value here. And with Matt Bryant, what I like about him is he's an older guy, and if you guys don't know this, he was actually drafted off the street. He wasn't drafted in your typical NFL, annual draft. Basically recruited off the streets when I played in college. But being an older guy, it takes the game a little bit more serious than some of the younger guys who kind of had shit handed to them. You know what I mean? Atlanta, obviously, everybody knows how the first matchup against Atlanta and Tampa Bay went. I highly doubt it's going to be the same, but I think the potential of a shootout is at least there. And if there's a shootout, it's a high-scoring game, which I think this might be. There's a good chance that we're going to get a lot of points for our kickers. So I'm willing to always take the lesser approach because I've never gotten a lot out of a high-valued kicker. So I'm going to go with the lower end. Now moving on to defense, guys, I'm going to go with Baltimore Ravens this week. A little bit more than I normally spend on defense or I'm willing to spend, but I like Baltimore. Right now they're ranked 4th in points allowed per game, and they're facing off against the Titans, who rank 29th in offense. Also consider that Baltimore's strongest defense is against the run, which is also the Titans' strongest point in offense. So basically, unstoppable force is going to be meeting an unmovable object this week, and I tend to side on the era of Baltimore. The Ravens have only allowed one team, the Colts, to run for more than 100 yards. Consider that for a second. You have kind of an underdog in the league whose primary offensive weapon is the run, and they're going to go up against an opponent who has only had one team run for more than 100 yards against them. They currently maintain an allowed average of 72 yards per game. So I'm feeling them. I think they're going to be worth the money this week. As far as we get into running backs, I'm liking LaShawn McCoy. I think that the guy's got a pretty good chance this week in Week 10. He's also not too expensive. There are a lot of reasons I'm picking McCoy. First off, if you didn't hear, Nick Foles is out with pretty bad collarbone injuries. Some people are saying it's shoulder, some people are saying it's collarbone. I'm going to call it a collarbone injury unless you know more. You feel free to comment. His replacement is Mark Sanchez, who has a completion rate of only about 55.2%. Whenever you see a star hotshot quarterback like Nick Foles go out, you always see the second, third string quarterbacks, they step in. They tend to run the ball a lot more. So you have Sean McCoy getting an opportunity more than likely this week with Sanchez. Everybody's going to kind of be on the edge. They're not going to want the stand-in, if you will, to be making these big plays. There tends to be this kind of aura and a lack of confidence for these guys, like Sanchez and like some of the other stand-ins. So there's going to be more opportunities to run the ball. They're facing off against the Eagles on Monday night. Carolina has had 5 of the last 9 matchups end with over 100 yards against them. Now think about that for a second. The Eagles, who are probably going to be running the ball a lot more and already have an offense that likes to run the ball, are going to be, if you will, facing off against an opponent who has allowed 5 of the last 9 matchups to end in over 100 yards. Good potential there. Moving on to the second running back pick, and this is going to be one that might shock people that I considered not going with Murray, but I did. I actually considered, I bounced back and forth for this between Murray and Marshawn Lynch with Seattle, primarily because I saw that the Seahawks and the Giants matchup is favoring the run for Seattle. However, my gut, I'm going to stick with my gut, which is going with Murray. Jacksonville isn't too bad in their run defense, with Romo questionable and possibly a second string coming in place of Romo like this last week. There's likely to be a lot more running the ball. And either way, Dallas likes to run the ball. They like to mix things up. They like to confuse their opponent. Overall, Dallas has played good ball this year, primarily because they use this confusion. They're going to run the ball. Are they going to run the ball, or are they going to throw the ball? If Romo comes back in, he's probably going to lean more on the running just to give his back a rest. And Jacksonville hasn't been able to adapt to that type of gameplay good enough to be formidable against the run. So I think this is going to be the Cowboys' 7th victory of the year. Moving on to tight ends. I'm actually stepping away from Jason Witten, who I went with for the last few weeks, even though he's actually done fairly well for me. The pick this week is actually going to be with the New York Giants going up against Seattle. Uh, Donnell, I believe that, yeah, Larry Donnell. If I can pronounce that wrong, feel free to correct me. He started the season great in Week 4 with a 3-touchdown game. Afterwards, he felt pretty silent until Victor Cruz was injured. Now Eli Manning has been using him more, primarily because of the loss of Victor Cruz. Facing off against Seattle, I think is going to put him in a good position. The Seahawks have so far allowed 8 touchdowns by tight ends. So they're one of those teams who can't really control the tight end, their opponent's tight end very well, and they aren't maintaining themselves as well as once they had. Everybody knows that they're not doing as well. They didn't even do that well against Oakland, which isn't that great of a team. Moving on to QB. Now, I'm going to totally give full disclosure. I want Peyton Manning, but he's too damn expensive this week for me. So if you can get him and you have another Ponzi scheme, I would go with him because I think his game against Oakland is going to be groundbreaking. I think there's a really good chance. But I'm ultimately going to go with Ben Roethlisberger, guys. And his last 3 games have been outstanding, yet they were against fairly good standing opponents. He's now facing off against the Jets, who sit on a 1-8 record with an otherwise battered defense, who's 31st in points allowed per game and 32nd in turnovers. So you have a quarterback who is on the uptick for the entire season. He's going to go up against a team that has basically been on a downtick the entire season. I see a huge potential for Ben Roethlisberger to have an amazing game. Now let's move on to wide receivers. I'm going to go with Bryant. And no, since everybody likes to kind of give me a little bit of crap about liking the Cowboys so much, not Dez Bryant. I'm going to go with Martinez. I'm not even going to attempt. I'm going to go with Bryant from Pittsburgh. And that's primarily, as everybody knows, I like to patch up at least one wide receiver with my quarterback. There's no doubt that there's going to be double coverage this week on Antonio Brown. If you don't think there's going to be double coverage on Antonio Brown, you're a fool. And Bryant's recent success over the last couple of games is going to make him a target by Ben Roethlisberger, but likely not a suspect by the Jets. Guys knew, who knows how the game's going to pan out, but either way, the kid's got potential. He's got some decent scores. He's got some great catches. He's gotten the touchdowns. He's getting the attention. His main competition, if you will, in their own team is Antonio Brown, who's going to be more than covered for this round. Going up on my second pick for wide receivers is actually going to be the one that I'm willing to actually spend some money on, which is Emmanuel Sanders with the Denver Broncos. Now, Sanders, he didn't even score a touchdown until week 7, but he now has 4 with a total of 785 yards. Peyton was going to want to come back from the loss to the Patriots, guys. I always talk about, the rebound. Peyton's not going to want to go up against Oakland and risk losing. And when you think about that, think about the fact that he's going to be relying on his solid choices. One of the solid choices is Sanders. I see Sanders getting a huge opportunity to ball. The guy, once week 4 came around, week 7 came around, and he got his touchdown. The guy's been doing great since then. I think he's got 4 touchdowns now so far. So he's my pick, dude. I want to see them tear into Oakland, and I would go with Thomas, but Thomas is a little bit pricey. And if you're considering it, I would jump on Thomas if you have a plan that'll work. But I see Thomas as kind of being one of those guys who's probably going to be facing off against double coverage. So my last pick is going to be what I refer to as the bargain gamble, and I'm going to try to get more into discussing this a little bit later. Now, it's actually probably going to be a help video later. I'm one of those guys. Yep, and there you go. He's going to be Mr. Jermaine from Seattle is going to be my final pick, guys. The main reason is, and I'm not even going to bother with stats, but I'll throw it out there. The guy has 17 receptions so far this year. But the important part for me is he's been in 8 games. Okay, now it's a gamble because we're out of money at this point, and I would much rather have Emmanuel Sanders and DeMarco Murray and LaShawn McCoy and Ben Roethlisberger and my Baltimore defense. I'd rather have those guys because I'm pretty sure that just between those 4, just between the 3 on top, I'm probably going to get 60 points. Those are the gimmies. They're worth the price. But I got to make a bargain and I got to eat the loss somewhere. The guy's been in 8 games, people. That means that he's been in every single game so far this year that Seattle has played, which means he's getting on the field, so it's a gamble. I'd rather take him than somebody who's had big plays but doesn't play in every game. Now, knowing my luck, he probably won't play in Week 10. But I'm going to go with him because right now he's sitting on 237 yards out of 17 receptions. He's got 1 touchdown, which means that Russell Wilson is going to consider the guy. And it's an acceptable loss. Anyways, guys, I hope this video helped you. Good luck this week and win some.